Well, hello, and welcome to the latest installment of the Cory Doctorow podcast. I'm Cory Doctorow, and I'm reading to you this week from my novel Eastern Standard Tribe. It's the third installment of my reading of this novel, which was originally published in 2004 by Tor Books. Well, generally a pretty good week since I last spoke to you. The first thing that happened was this really weird thing. The World Economic Forum, these the weird secret masters of the universe who meet in a high mountain in Switzerland in Davos once a year. They named me one of their 250 global leaders of 2007, young global leaders of 2007, along with a bunch of members of royal families and members of parliament and some geeks, someone from Google and Nick Denton from Gawker and Rick Mercer, the great Canadian comedian, and Jimmy Wales, my buddy who started Wikipedia. All in all, an odd pack. And we're all being gathered for a weekend in China in September. So, wow, that's pretty weird. Then, hot on the heels of that, Entertainment Weekly brought out a stupendous review of my new short story collection, Overclocked. The reviewer said, I'm the William Gibson of my generation. I almost said I'm the Cory Doctorow of my generation. That part I knew. Anyways, William Gibson of my generation, that's pretty nice. I tend to think that William Gibson is the William Gibson of my generation. Damn, that guy just keeps writing better stuff all the time. But, I won't sneeze at that. And then, Forbes magazine published this list of 25 web celebrities, or webebrities. And I and my co-editor Sheni Jardin and some of my buddies are on this list, which was pretty odd and interesting and cool. So that was my rash of good news, and the news keeps getting better. On February the 1st, I'm coming to Toronto, and I will do a book launch at Baka Books for Overclocked at 7 p.m. That's the oldest science fiction bookstore in the world that I used to work at, and Tanya Huff and Michelle Segura still works there, and all these great science fiction writers who've worked there over the years, Nalo Hopkinson and so on. So I'm launching there February 1st at 7 p.m., and then in San Francisco I'll be at Borderlands Books on February the 8th. This is another great science fiction bookstore. If you have been following my stuff for a while, you'll know that they've always been really good to me. I've done a lot of launches there, and they're the ones who used to do the if you sent them if you sent them an order for one of my books along with something you wanted me to sign in it, I would drop by once a week and sign all those orders. Unfortunately, I don't live close to them anymore, so I can't do that. There's another bookstore in LA that's doing that secret headquarters. But it's still, they're still super cool, and they're still pals of mine. I launched a little mini comic of Print Crime, a story that you've heard in this podcast that appears in Overclocked. That was illustrated by Martin Chenreda, who's illustrator and former animator for South Park, and a friend of the folks at Secret Headquarters. They're the ones who published it. You can download a free PDF of it and assemble it yourself. It's kind of a little origami mini comic. And what else happened this week? Oh yeah, so my internet service is down. That's one of the reasons I'm recording a podcast, is I can't do anything else. My world has come crashing to a halt because of stupid Time Warner. God, they are such an evil monopoly. Back when I had Adelphia cable, I could get through to tech support in like 10 minutes. I spent 2.5 hours placing a complaint with Time Warner tonight to just let them know that my service was down. And they said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We'll send someone tomorrow in a 6-hour window. Anyway, they're evil. As evil as a cable company. No surprise. Well, enough kvetching and kvelling, and on to Eastern Standard Tribe, Chapter 9. It was nearly dawn before they finally made their way out of the police station and back into the street. After identifying Les from an online rogues gallery, Art had spent the next 6 hours sitting on a hard bench, courting desultorily on his thigh, doing some housekeeping. The business of being an agent provocateur was complicated in the extreme, though it had sounded like a good time when he was living in San Francisco and hating every inch of the city, from the alleged pizza to the fucking drivers. In New York, the theory went, the drivers used their horns by way of shouting, "Olé!" as in, "Olé, you changed lanes! Olé, you cut me off! Olé, you're driving on the sidewalk!" While in San Francisco, a honking horn meant, "I wish you were dead. Have a nice day, dude." The body language was all screwed up out west. Art believed that your entire unconscious affect was determined by your upbringing. You learned how to stand, how to hold your face in repose, how to gesture, from the adults around you while you were growing up. The Pacific Standard Tribe always seemed a little bovine to him, their facial muscles long conditioned to relax into a kind of spacey, gullible senescence. Beauty, too. Your local definition of attractive and ugly was conditioned by the people around you at puberty. There was a Pacific look that was indefinably off. Hard to say what it was, just that when he went out to a bar or got stuck on a crowded train, the girls just didn't seem all that attractive to him. Objectively, he could recognize their prettiness, but it didn't stir him the way that the girls cruising the Chelsea Antiques Market or lounging in Harvard Square could. He'd always felt at a slight angle to reality in California, something that was reinforced by his continuous efforts in the tribe, from chatting and gaming until the sun rose, dragging his caffeine-deficient ass around to his clients in a kind of fog before going home, catching a nap and hopping back online at 3 or 4 when the high-octane NYC early risers were practicing work avoidance and clattering around with their comms. Gradually, he penetrated deeper into the tribe, getting invites into private channels, intimate environments where he found himself spilling the most private details of his life. The tribe stuck together, finding work for each other, offering advice, and it was only a matter of time before someone offered him a gig. That was Fede, who practically invented tribal agents provocateurs. He'd been working for McKinsey, systematically undermining their GMT-based clients with plausible, terrible advice, creating Achilles' heels that their East Coast competitors could exploit. The entire European trust architecture for relay networks had been ceded by Virgin Deutsche Telekom to a scrappy band of AT&T Labs refugees whose New Jersey headquarters hosted all the cellular reputation data that the Euro's comms consulted when they were routing their calls. The Jersey clients had funneled a nice chunk of the proceeds to Fede's account in the form of rigged winnings from an offshore casino that the tribe used to launder its money. Now Virgin Deutsche Telekom was striking back, angling for a government contract in Massachusetts, a fat bit of pork for managing payments to the rights holders whose media was assessed at the Mass Pike's toll booths. Rights societies were a fabulous opportunity to skim and launder and spindle money in plenty, and Virgin's massive repertoire combined with Deutsche Telekom's Teutonic attention to detail was a tough combination to beat. Needless to say, the Route 128-based tribalistas who had the existing contract needed an edge and would pay handsomely for it. London nights seemed like a step up from San Francisco mornings to Art. Instead of getting up at 4 a.m. to get in New York City, he could sleep in and chat them up through the night. The Euro sensibility, with its many nap breaks, statutory holidays, and extended vacations, seemed ideally suited to a double agent's life. But Art hadn't counted on the tribalist hands-on approach to his work. They obsessively grepped his daily feed of spreadsheets, whiteboard output, memos, and conversation reports for any of 10,000 hot keywords, querying him for deeper detail on trivial, half-remembered bullshit sessions with the VDT user experience engineers. His comm buzzed and blipped at all hours, and his payoff was dependent on his prompt response. They were running him ragged. 4 hours in the police station gave Art ample opportunity to catch up on the backlog of finicky queries. Since the accident, he'd been detracted and tardy, and had begun to invent his responses, since it all seemed so trivial to him anyway. Freddie had sent him about 1,000 nagging notes reminding him to generate a new key and phone with the fingerprint. Christ, Fede had been with McKinsey for most of his adult life, and he was super paranoid about being exposed and disgraced in their ranks. Art's experience with the other McKinsey people around the office suggested that the notion of any of these overpaid buzzword slingers sniffing their traffic was about as likely as a lightning strike. Heaving a dramatic sigh for his own benefit, he began the lengthy process of generating enough randomness to seed the key, mashing the keyboard, whispering nonsense syllables, and pointing the comm's camera lens at arbitrary corners of the police station. After 10 minutes of crypto Tourette's, the comm announced that he'd been sufficiently random, and prompted him for a passphrase. Jesus, what a pain in the ass. He struggled to remember all the words to the theme song from a CBC sitcom he'd watched as a kid, and then his comm went into full-on churn as it laboriously reciphered all of his stored files with the new key, leaving Art to log in while he waited. Trepan. Afternoon. Colonel Onik. Hey, Trepan, how's it going? Trepan, foul. I'm stuck at a cop shop in London with my thumb up my ass. I got mugged. Colonel Onik, yikes. You okay? Ballgravy, shit. Trepan, oh, I'm fine. Just bored. They didn't hurt me. I calmed 999 while they were running their game and showed it to them when they got ready to do the deed, so they took off. Colonel Onik laughs. Ballgravy, Britain equals ass. Lundong. Colonel Onik, sweet. Trepan, thanks. Now, if the cops would only finish the paperwork. Colonel Onik, what are you doing in London anyway? Ballgravy, ass, ass, ass. Colonel Onik, shut up, B-gravy. Ballgravy, blow me. Trepan, what's wrong with you, Ballgravy? We're having a grown-up conversation here. Ballgravy, just don't like Brits. Trepan, what, all of them? Ballgravy, whatever. All the ones I've met have been tight-ass pricks. Colonel Onik, private. He's just a troll. Ignore him. Private to Colonel Onik, watch this. Trepan, how many? Ballgravy, how many what? Have you met? Ballgravy, enough. Trepan, more than 100? Ballgravy, no. Trepan, more than 50? Ballgravy, no. Ballgravy, no. Trepan, more than 10? Ballgravy, around 10. Trepan, where are you from? Ballgravy, Queens. Trepan, well, you're not going to believe this, but you're the 10th person from Queens I've met, and you're all morons who pick fights with strangers in chat rooms. Colonel Onik, Queens equals ass. Trepan, ass, ass, ass. Ballgravy, fuck you both. Ballgravy has left channel est.chatter. Colonel Onik, nicely done. Colonel Onik, he's been boring me stupid for the past hour, following me from channel to channel. Colonel Onik, what are you doing in London anyway? Trepan, like I said, waiting for the cops. Colonel Onik, but why are you there in the first place? Trepan, private to Colonel Onik. It's a work thing, for EST. Colonel Onik, private. No shit? Trepan, private to Colonel Onik. Yeah, I can't say much more. You understand. Colonel Onik, private. Cool. Any more jobs? One more day at Merrill Lynch and I'm gonna kill someone. Trepan, private to Colonel Onik. Sorry, no. There must be some perks, though. Colonel Onik, private. I can pick fights with strangers in chat rooms. Also, I get to play with LexisNexis all I want. Trepan, private to Colonel Onik. Well, that's pretty rad anyway. Ballgravy has joined channel est.chatter. Ballgravy, homos. Trepan, oh Christ, are you back again, Queens? Colonel Onik, I gotta go anyway. Trepan, see ya. Colonel Onik has left channel est.chatter. Trepan has left channel est.chatter. Art stood up and blinked. He approached the desk sergeant and asked if he thought it would be much longer. The sergeant filled it with a calm for a moment, then said, "Oh, we're quite through with you, sir. Thank you." Art repressed a vituperative response, counted 3, then thanked the cop. He calmed Linda. "What's up?" "They say we're free to go. I think they've just been keeping us here for shits and giggles. Can you believe that?" "Whatever. I've been having a nice chat with Constable McGivens. Constable, is it all right if we go now?" There was some distant English rumbling. Then Linda giggled. "All right, then. Thank you so much, officer. Art, I'll meet you at the front doors, all right?" "That's great," Art said. He stretched. His ass was numb, his head throbbed, and he wanted to strangle Linda. She emerged into the dawn, blinking and grinning, and surprised him with a long, full-body hug. "Sorry I was so snappish before," she said. "I was just scared. The cops said that you were quite brave. Thank you." Art's adrenals dry-fired as he tried to work up a good, angry head of steam. Then he gave up. "It's all right. Let's go get some breakfast, okay?" Chapter 10. The parking lot is aswarm with people, fire engines, and ambulances. There's a siren going off somewhere in the bowels of the sanatorium, and I still can't get anyone to look up at the goddamn roof. I've tried hollering myself hoarse into the updrafts from the cheery blaze, but the wind's against me, my shouts rising up past my ears. I've tried dropping more pebbles, but the winds whip them away, and I've learned my lesson about half-bricks. Weirdly, I'm not worried about getting into trouble. I've already been involuntarily committed by the tribe's enemies, the masked and devious forces of the Pacific Daylight Tribe and the Greenwich Mean Tribe. I am officially not responsible, confused and prone to wandering. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's not like I hurt anyone. Just decremented the number of roadworthy fartmobiles by 1. I got up this morning at 4, awakened by the tiniest sound from the ward corridors, a wheel from a pharmaceuticals tray, maybe. 3 weeks on medically prescribed sleepy time drugs have barely scratched the surface of the damage wrought by years of circadian abuse. I'd been having the fragile shadow of a dream, the ghost of an REM cycle, and it was the old dream, the dream of the doctor's office and the older kids who could manage the trick of making a picture into reality. I went from that state to total wakefulness in an instant, and I knew to a certainty that I wouldn't be sleeping again any time soon. I paced my small room, smelled the cheerful flowers my cousins brought last week when they visited from Toronto, watched the horizon for signs of a breaking dawn. I wished futilely for my calm and a nice private channel where I could sling some bullshit and have some slung in my direction, just connect with another human being at a nice, safe remove. They chide me for arguing on the ward, call it belligerence, and try to sidetrack me with questions about my motivations, a tactic rating barely above ad hominems in my book. No one to talk to, the other patients get violent or nod off, depending on their medication levels, and the staff just patronize me. 4 a.m. and I'm going nuts, hamsters in my mind spinning the wheels at 1,000 RPM, chittering away. I snort. If I wasn't crazy to begin with, I'm sure getting there now. The hamsters won't stop arguing with each other over all the terrible errors of judgment I've made to get here. Trusting the tribe, trusting strangers, argue, argue, argue. God, if only someone else were around, I could argue the definition of sanity. I could argue the ethics of involuntary committal. I could argue the food. But my head is full of argument and there's nowhere to spill it, and soon enough I'll be talking aloud, arguing with the air like the schizoid on the ward, who mutter, grumble, shout through the day and through the night. Why didn't I just leave London when I could, come home, move in with Gran, get a regular job? Why didn't I swear off the whole business of secrecy and provocation? I was too smart for my own good. I could always argue myself into doing the sexy, futuristic thing, instead of being a nice, mundane, non-affiliated individual. Too smart to settle down, take a job and watch TV after work, spend 2 weeks a year at the cottage, and go online to find my movie listings. Too smart is too restless and no happiness ever, without that it's chased by obsessive maundering moping about what comes next. Smart or happy? The hamsters have hopped off their wheels and are gnawing at the blood-brain barrier, trying to get out of my skull. This is a good sanatorium, but still the toilets are communal on my floor, which means that I've got an unlocked door that lights up at the nurse's station down the corridor when I open the door, and goes berserk if I don't reopen it again within the mandated 15-minute maximum potty break. I figured I had to defeat that system the first day, but it was a theoretical hack, and now it was time to put it into practice. I step out the door and the lintel goes pink, deepens toward red. Once it's red, whoop, whoop, whoop. I pad down to the lab, step inside, wait, step out again. I go back to my room, the lintel is orange now, and open it. Move my torso across the long electric eye, then pull it back and let the door swing closed. The lintel is white, and that means the room thinks that I'm inside, but I'm outside. You put your torso in, you take your torso out, you do the hokey pokey, and you shake it all about. In the corridor, I pad away from the nurse's station, past the closed doors and through the muffled, narcotized groans and snores and farts that are the twilight symphony of night on the ward. I duck past an intersection, head for the elevator doors, then remember the tattletale I'm wearing on my ankle, which will go spectacularly berserk if I try to leave by that exit. Also, I'm in my underwear. I can't just walk nonchalantly into the lobby. The ward is making wakeful sounds, and I'm sure I hear the soft tread of a white-soled shoe coming round the bend. I double my pace, begin to jog at random. The hamsters, they tell me I'm acting with all the forethought of a crazy person, and why not just report for extra meds instead of all this mishigas? There's definitely someone coming down a nearby corridor, the tread of sneakers, the squeak of a wheel. I've seen what they do to wanderers. A nice chemical straitjacket, a cocktail of pills that'll quiet the hamsters down for days. Time to get gone. There's an exit sign glowing over a door at the far end of the corridor. I pant towards it, find it propped open and the alarm system disabled by means of a strip of surgical tape. Stepping through the emergency stairwell, I see an ashtray fashioned from a wadded-up bit of tinfoil heaped with butts, evidence of a late-night smoke break by someone on the ward staff. Massachusetts' harsh anti-smoking regs are the best friend an escaping loony ever had. Their stairwell is gray and industrial and refreshingly hard-edged after 3 padded weeks on the ward. Down, down is the exit in freedom, frying clothes somewhere, and out I go into Boston. From below, then, the huffing, laborious breathing of some goddamned overweight middle-aged doc climbing the stairs for his health. I peer down the well and see his gleaming pate, his white knuckles on the railing, 2, maybe 3 flights down. Up, up to the roof. I'm on the 20th floor, which means that I've got 25 more to go. 2 flights per, 50 in total. Gotta move. Up. I stop 2 or 3 times and pant and wheeze and make it 10 stories and collapse. I'm sweating freely. No air conditioning in the stairwell, nor is there anything to mop up the sweat rolling down my body, filling the crack of my ass, coursing down my legs. I press my face to the cool, painted cinder block walls, one cheek and then the other, and continue on. When I finally open the door that leads out onto the pebbled roof, the dawn cool as balm. Fingers of light are hauling sunrise up over the horizon. I step onto the roof and feel the pebbles dig into the soft soles of my feet, cool as the bottom of the riverbed whence they'd been dredged. The door starts to swing shut heavily behind me, and I whirl and catch it just in time, getting my fingers mashed against the jamb for my trouble. I haul it back again against its pneumatic closure mechanism. Using the side of my foot as a bulldozer, I scrape up a cairn of pebbles as high as the door's bottom edge, twice as high. I fall into the rhythm of the work, making the cairn higher and wider until I can't close the door no matter how I push against it. The last thing I want is to get stuck on a goddamn roof. There's detritus mixed in with the pebbles, cigarette butts, burnt-out matches, a condom wrapper, and a bright yellow Eberhard pencil with a point as sharp as a spear. The eraser is pink and softly resilient as a nipple. I pick up the pencil and twiddle it between forefinger and thumb, tap a nervous rattle against the roof's edge as I dangle my feet over the bottomless plummet until the sun is high and warm on my skin. The hamsters get going again once the sun is high, and the cars start pulling into the parking lot below, rattling and chittering and whispering, "Yes, oh yes, put the pencil in your nose. Wouldn't you rather be happy than smart?"